Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to embark on a journey like no other. Welcome to the Glum Lot Podcast,
your go-to destination for a unique blend of recovery and discovery.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Mark. And in this podcast, we will endeavor to create a safe and uplifting space for our guests and listeners to share their stories with sincerity and a touch of humor.
Remember, we are not a Glum Lot. The Glum Lot Podcast is more than just a source of entertainment. It's a beacon of hope, proving that even in the darkest moments, recovery is possible. Every story we share carries the power to inspire positive change.
So buckle up, get ready to listen, and join us in discovering the strength that lies within every individual's journey. This is the Glum Lot Podcast, where humor meets hope.
All right, Mr. Brett, we are on episode number 8.
Number 8.
And we've had some success this, we've only been going for about a week, and we're up to about 400 downloads, which is good, and a couple from Germany and something from Great Britain, so it's getting out there. If you're a listener, feel free to pass it on, of course. And we are on every platform now, Apple, Spotify, YouTube.
Western Union,
Pandora, blah, 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 blah. So you can find us everywhere. So, Brett, what's on your mind?
Speaking of blah, 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 let's do a little blah, 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 blah.
Hit it.
What do you think?
Hit it, bro.
I got, at a meeting.
Yeah, of course.
And bless his heart, we had a newcomer come in, young kid. And, he was soaking it in, and he had some great support with him. It was really neat to see. He had a young gentleman with him that was just there only to make sure he felt comfortable there, and that was really cool to me.
Yeah, good.
You don't see that very often.
No.
And what a friend, first of all.
Yeah.
What a friend. And we got to talking afterwards. He got, everybody was talking at him. Of course, first time.
First time meeting.
That makes him uncomfortable, and he was like a little weirded out. But one of the things that we do, and you're aware of this, we pass around numbers, right, from all the guys. So they have somebody to call, but we know that phone weighs 300 and some pounds, and odds are they really aren't going to take advantage of calling us.
Very seldom do. I would say I probably put my name on north of 500 lists.
Oh, yeah.
I have gotten 2 calls.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep. So
not a great hit rate.
Yeah, I'm better than you, just so you know. I'm way better than you.
Believe me, I know you think you're better than me. No question about that.
That makes me what I am.
But anyways, let's get to the meat of what you're talking about.
Well, jeez. All right, so I'll get right to it. So
Thank you.
I said, make sure you call. Say you're practicing, whatever, just do it. And my gosh, he did it.
Nice.
Nice. But what I prefaced that with was, if you call me, don't call me after you drink.
Right. Nobody wants the drunk call.
You got to call me before you drink. Because why?
Well, there's nothing you can do once they start drinking. There's nothing. You can't help them, If they call you before they drink, there's a chance you can help them not pick up the first drink.
Correct.
Once that has been accomplished, you are no good to them until the next day.
I know when I was in my first, second, third try at college, and when I was drinking, I was definitely not a good student, and I was not a good listener, and I certainly wasn't taking any advice from people. So I guess that's why we have to say, call me after you drink.
Call me before you drink.
Call me, yeah. I did that to create a little humor.
Oh, you're a funny guy.
I'll tell you.
I got a call from a longtime friend that I had been in AA with for years and years and years, and he called me from a bar drunk. And I was just so shocked. And I just kept saying to him, you don't have to do this. I'll come and pick you up. And he was an hour away, but I said, I'll drive and pick you up, dude. And you can stay with me. And he sounded so defeated and so sad. And there was basically nothing I could say to him that was going to help him.
No way.
So I just said, you know what? Just make sure you come back.
Yep.
And he did eventually. But man, it sucked,
Yeah, we're in a whole different state of mind at that point, and certainly I know me that when I started drinking, all that was on my mind was getting more.
Yep,
that's all.
Just pour me another one. So. Anyway, we have a fantastic guest today.
I would say so.
Somebody I've known for a while that has good sobriety, and he's pretty humorous dude.
Yep, he's humorous, and he's always got a great message, really heartfelt message, and that's what I remember coming in early and hearing him speak. always gave me comfort. I've said that a lot, I guess, but it's true.
Yeah.
And so, I'm excited to have him on the show for sure.
All right, so let's welcome Bobby. So welcome to the Glum Lot Podcast, Bob.
Hey, my name's Bob, and I'm really glad to be here.
Great. So why don't we start with you telling us a little bit about your history and what brought you to AA?
And maybe your sobriety date, too.
Yeah, your sobriety date.
Okay.
Good.
Well, I got here when I was 50 years old. That was October 9th, 2013. And I had spent a lifetime of drinking and messing things up. And I started at 11 years old and kind of made a mess. I started making kids at 19.
Okay.
I have 4 wonderful children that somehow turned out to be amazing and successful.
So you took your first drink when you were 11.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember anything about that? Like what it felt like or how you felt about it?
Yeah, it was definitely, I was very nervous at 5th grade about drugs and alcohol, and it was a new school I was going to go to, and as soon as I got there, that's what I did, drugs and alcohol.
Oh, geez.
As much as I could, and it was like the most freeing thing that ever happened.
Really?
It was like I was really uptight, before, all of a sudden I understood, I noticed what was going on in the world, and I felt less. And I felt like I didn't fit, and that just made me so at ease, and it felt like I could really do this good.
So you remember that first settling in of that alcoholic buzz where you just everything relaxed, and all of a sudden all that anxiety left, and then you think, okay, this works for me.
I just want to point out that it is so funny to me that in 5th grade, we're still wound tired in a mole's ass, right?
Yeah.
And we were looking for something to just, feels good. And we recognize that in 5th grade.
I know, but, I grew up in an alcoholic home. And at the time, this is a long time ago, but I remember not only did I like the feeling, but I thought it made me more adult. And, more of a man, because here I was doing what my parents did. You know what I mean? There was a whole social thing attached to that. And I don't know if kids still get that. They probably do. But I just remember at the time that I felt it was very acceptable, and it made me cool. I wanted to be one of the cool kids. Of course, everybody does at that age. Not everybody, but most people. So you had that first drink. Did you pursue it as you grew up through your early teen years and down into the, later teen years?
Once I started, I could not stop. I mean, it was like the next. I was obsessed with it. It was something. It was almost like competitive. I finally found something that I was really good at.
Yeah.
I could drink more than other people. I was funny. I was at ease. I could talk to the girls. I could kiss the girls. I could do whatever. I just felt like invincible, and that's kind of, and it just kept going. And by the time I was 19, I was a real mess. I was, at 17, I got thrown out of my house. And
was it alcohol related?
Oh, my gosh, yeah. I got a car when I was 16, and, I always worked, so I had money in my pocket. And they were laying down the law. And I remember my father saying, like they always say, you live under my roof. You live under my rules, and all of a sudden that night, it was just like epiphany, it was like, I'm out of here, And they changed the doors on the locks, or they changed the locks on the doors a few weeks later.
It would have been funny if they changed the doors, but kept the same locks.
I know.
You would have come on, what, is this a different door? My key still works. What the hell? Anyways.
So I ended up living in the backseat of my car, and I made a camp in the woods, and I was so happy. That was like the first time in my life.
Funny? But you were on your own.
Absolutely.
And you could drink unfettered.
I was so at ease, It was like I was so chill all the time, and I thought I was so cool, I mean, I was so much better, so much more advanced and taking care of myself.
You're in the woods,
yeah.
laying down.
Now, were you still in high school?
I would go, by the time I was a senior, I was going to school once a week.
Holy
The
shit.
school couldn't do anything. The principal said, you can come in and do detention whenever you want.
I majored in detention. But so did you end up graduating from high school?
No, I quit with a month left.
Oh, geez.
I was still passing all of the math and science. I was taking physics and calculus, and I loved math. But English, I wasn't into English.
We can tell.
And I
Hey, I already speak this language.
yeah,
What am I doing?
Yeah, and they wanted me to write this long paper
Yeah.
that was supposed to take all year, and I hadn't even started it.
Term
so.
paper, we used to call it back in the day.
Yeah.
So at this point in your life, when you walked away from school, were you just like, I really don't give a shit?
I didn't.
Yeah.
All I wanted to do was party, and I figured I'll live to 30, and I'll make a good-looking corpse, and all I wanted to do was drink and play pool and chase women. That was it. And then I chased this woman, and she was 5 years older, and it was so cool. Because now I'm really, really super cool. I got an older woman, and then I got her pregnant, and then all of a sudden I became a father, and everything changed in my mind. It was like, I'm somebody, and I have to be a father. I got to take care of this kid, and my drinking really slowed down.
Okay, so you were kind of making a conscious effort to be responsible.
Yeah.
Although you were certainly ill-equipped, you were trying, right?
Now, I bet you were really excited to tell your family that you were now a new father.
It was so funny because I hadn't been home for a year, and I went home, and I was really excited, and I was very close to my mom growing up, and I was really excited, and I wanted to name the baby after her mother, and she was like, "You ain't gonna name no bastard after my mother," and I was like, "Fuck you," and I'm out of here again, and then I was gone again, so it was just. And then I wanted to get as far away as I could, so I moved to the other side of the country, and I started a family, and we had three more kids, and it was just amazing.
So was this a lull in your drinking during this time?
Yes, I would get drunk every once in a while because I was always a binge drinker, but it wasn't like a career of drinking like it was before I had kids.
Socially, of course.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
just-
There had to be someone else there.
Right. I would not drink alone.
Yeah.
So apparently, at some point, that changed, though, right?
Yes, as soon as the kids got into their teenage years, and I always felt I could take care of myself when I was a teenager, so I expected them to take care of themselves as a teenager, and I figured, okay, it's time to, go do what I want to do again.
Time to loosen up.
And I did, and it was kind of the same thing, like you said, social. I was a carpenter, and I hammered the guy I worked with. Come on, let's just go for one beer after work, And it was always like, if I could get one person to go for a beer, it would justify it in my mind, and they would have one beer, and I'd stay till 2, and then things got really out of control. Over the next 10 years or so, and especially from 2009 to 2013, I had destroyed my second marriage and many relationships, and I was depressed, and I was going to the bar alone, and I was drinking with a neighbor, and I got my 4th DWI.
Holy shit! Now let me ask. Let me back it up for a second. Let's
put the brakes on.
Let's examine this. So,
Dive deep.
Tell us about your first DWI, and why wasn't that an eye opener for you?
Well, there's a funny story about that.
That's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
And so there used to be a biker bar on the east side of town, and it was the biggest, baddest bar in town for bikers. And I wired my motorcycle so that I could start my motorcycle without the headlight on, because we used to come up with all these great ideas how I wouldn't get caught drinking. So I figured this had drag pipes on it. You could hear it a half a mile away. But I figured if the light isn't on,
Right.
nobody can see me,
Right.
even though I'm underneath a street light.
Right, it was a loud ghost. Ghost of bikers gone by. So you went out drinking. You got hammered.
Mm-hmm. And it's so funny because I forgot to turn the headlight on.
Oh, completely. You just rode without it.
Yeah. So I rode about a half a mile, and a police officer pulled me over to tell me that my headlight wasn't on. And I was so messed up on mushrooms and so drunk, And I don't know why, you'd think mushrooms would mellow you out more, but I was in such a great mood, and this guy's messing with my mood, So I was very aggressive with the cop, and of course he arrested me, and that was it. The next 3 times I got pulled over on my motorcycle or in my truck, I got a DWI. I think, once you're in the computer, that's it.
So yeah, they run your name and there's a prior. They're like, yeah.
And they hunt you down. They follow you around, just waiting to give you a DWI, right?
No, I just would get so drunk, and
So it's at some point with these 3 DWIs, were you court ordered to go to meetings or go to counseling or attend classes, anything like that?
Yeah, I did outpatient 4 times, and the first 3 times I absolutely did not pay attention because at that point in my life, I thought that drinking and driving was just wasn't
sport.
It wasn't a real problem. It was just a way for the city to make revenue, and I was just a victim of circumstance. And
so you're
poor
in
me,
pretty
poor me,
heavy
poor me.
denial, right?
Oh my gosh! yeah.
And so you get that 4th DWI. What happens?
Oh my gosh! And it was really embarrassing because by this time I had been drinking. Well, that day was kind of messed up too. There was a Carpenter's Clam Bake about a half a mile from my house, and I had arranged for someone to pick me up. So that was my Christmas.
You knew
drink.
you were going to be blotto.
Oh, double fisted all
Yeah,
the day,
yeah.
So the guy calls me and he tells me he's running late, and I was like, well, the heck with it. It's only down the road. I want to ride my motorcycle, So I come out of there totally snockered, and someone had taken my safety glasses off my bike, which you really need some sort of protection on your eyes. It's very hard to see without that. And by that time I was drinking with a buddy of mine who was also a carpenter, and whenever we got together, bad things happened. So next thing, I'm on the highway, and he's doing about 120, and I fly past him. And so I must have been doing 140 because
You have no eye. You have no
no
mask,
eye.
no eye.
You can barely see where I'm going.
The wind is blowing straight into your eyeballs
And
at 140 miles an hour with bugs.
And I let off the throttle, and I go into a high-speed wobble. I'm bending the handlebars with my arms. Thank God I'm a carpenter. I almost run into a car and get to the bar. And
So you got control and you just kept going. You figure, okay, I'm good now.
I'm good. And then we went to the new biker bar because the other one had closed.
Probably had to settle your nerves from
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And we started pounding Jack Daniels, and then he went to leave, and I was already blacked out, but he told me later that I had stopped him and told him he was too drunk to ride his motorcycle, and he has to go back inside and mellow out, and I threw my leg over my bike and took off.
Oh, very sound thinking.
And came to a red light about a mile away and couldn't even stop the motorcycle without falling over. So my bike's on the side of, on its side in a very busy intersection in town, and I'm yelling to this guy, just driving by because it's 800 pounds, and I'm so drunk I can't pick it up, and I'm like, come on, help me, I'm thinking I'm going to get
see
caught,
I'm suffering?
Yeah. So I got it up, and I threw my leg over, and the lights came on, and that was my 4th DWI.
Oh shit!
And then I did everything that I was supposed to do with the outpatient because I always did that before I went to court. But this time I'm looking at 4 years in state prison, and losing my license for 10 years.
So is it a little scary at that point?
It was life changing because it put a price on my drinking.
Shit got real.
Yeah, and it was and soon after that it was like drinking ain't worth it, because I had a business. How am I going to do my business without driving? And thank God I got this great lawyer and I didn't go to prison. And
But the consequences all of a sudden got real.
yes,
And so you're starting to realize your life is unmanageable as a result of your drug and alcohol use, right? Are drugs a
Absolutely.
big part of the story or no? Or it's just something you did well when you were drinking?
If you put anything that's in front of me, I would do. You know.
Yeah.
And I did do a lot of drugs over my lifetime, but drinking was my love. Drinking is what was my solution to all my. It was my savior. It was my what was that that little dog who had the underdog pill,
super energy pill.
Yeah, or it was Popeye's spinach,
Yeah.
If
I like that one.
needed something, as soon as I put that inside me, I was invincible. I didn't care anymore.
Okay, so at
everything was
this
better.
time, how old are you when you got the fourth DWI?
50 years old.
Okay, so you're starting. That's a wake up call. You're starting to think about, my life is really going down the shitter. I should probably do something. Do you realize that there's a possibility you're an alcoholic at this point?
I would very easily call myself an alcoholic at that point, but I had no idea what an alcoholic was.
Right.
And I was doing outpatient. I was doing 2 groups, and I was doing a one-on-one with this really good counselor. And she was an alcoholic, and she had been in the program, and she just made one comment that I think you'd really like AA, because I was so serious. I was taking it seriously now. I was listening. I didn't know. I was looking for a solution to the problem that I had myself in. But the only thing is when she said that, the first thought that came into my mind was, I can't believe I didn't think of this. The judge is going to love this. you know?
So it's a political technique. But so let me ask you this though: Did you realize that you needed more help? Let me back up for a minute. Did you ever try to stop drinking on your own?
Yes.
So many times you said, "All right, today's the day. I'm not going to drink."
Yes.
Did you ever succeed?
I went 42 days, and that sort of convinced me that I didn't have a problem. And I was dating this one girl, and I knew her for a long time, and she drank and she didn't drink, and she was in the program, and I was sitting at her house with a 12-pack in my lap, and I was like, "You really don't drink? How do you not drink?" So I dated her for 42 days.
Oh no! When I was drinking, I stopped drinking for 42 minutes once, and it
That's
was,
how long you dated that girl too?
42
minutes,
exactly. Yeah, and then I paid her and she left.
Oh,
So
for shame.
so you're at this turning point, and this woman says, "Hey, AA might be a good idea." So what did you do?
I found a meeting. I can't even remember how I found a meeting, but I found a meeting on Wednesday nights, and even while I was doing all my outpatient, I went to this meeting for 6 or 8 weeks.
What was your first meeting like? You just walked in on your own. You didn't know anybody, right?
Yes, the first meeting was so uncomfortable, and I showed up late, left immediately after the meeting, tried not to talk to anybody. People tried to reach out to me, and I didn't. One weird thing was when I walked into the room, it was a very cold night, and there was a guy there in shorts. and I drank in dive bars. So for some reason, without even thinking, I sat right next to him. And,
This is my guy.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
just from the visual.
Because everybody else they didn't look like drunks. They looked like church people. And so the next week when I went, I sat right next to him, and he ended up being a big pivotal thing in my sobriety.
Well, let me ask you this too about your first meeting. After your first meeting, what made you come back to another meeting?
I was still building my portfolio.
It was court. It was you're thinking this is a good thing for my defense against this.
I was so worried about the 4 years in college that I'd lose all my tools.
4 years in college, he says.
Yeah, 4
You
years.
could say that.
That's so funny.
We call it college where I come from.
That's so funny because we did used to call it college.
Yeah.
There's one of my buddies used to go to state prison routinely, and it was like, "Oh, where's Ruby? Oh, he's in college."
Yeah, he was the professor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you start attending meetings, and more than one a week?
No, just that one.
Just that
meeting
Wednesday night meeting.
until my outpatient was over, and then once that, I started, exploring other meetings. At that point, after like 6 or 8 weeks, I was hooked because in outpatient, everybody really didn't want to be there, and in the meeting, everyone really was into the meeting and seemed like they wanted to be.
What was
there.
the attraction?
It was just it was a curiosity because they were all having fun. and they were serious about
Claiming sobriety.
Yeah, and they were and claiming sobriety. It didn't make sense, They didn't look like the people I hung out with, and at first I felt alienated and just hung around people in shorts.
And I'm sure you didn't have any prejudices when you walked in there either, right?
I think we kind of alienate ourselves a little bit at first, right? People were reaching out to you.
Oh, yeah.
And did you ever grasp the hand that was held out to you?
No, because where I came from, nobody gives you nothing, If they're going to give you something, they're going to expect something in return. And so it was, I remember, I think it was the first meeting, this little guy with half an ear comes running across the room and he goes, "I'm your sponsor." And I said, "No, you're not," because I didn't, even when they handed me the big book, I says, "Oh, no, how much is it?" I didn't want to be roped in any way. I want to secure my way out.
So, like a lot of us that come into AA that don't know anything about it, it seems very foreign to us. And there's a certain level of mistrust where we're like, wait a minute, nobody gives you any, nobody's this happy to see you. No, what kind of cult is this? What are they going to expect me to do? Is this Heaven's Gate? I don't want to drink the Kool-Aid. And so, but you kept coming back, which is great. I mean, that certainly is the key. And at some point, how did this change? How did your AA change?
It became my social life. It was my social life before it was my solution. It was like, well, I can't go to the bar. I can't do this. I can't do that. But that was fun, And I got to know, like that guy in shorts, we started going to hockey games together. And it just became fun. And
that for the listeners, this guy's name is Rick the Alcoholic. He called himself, and he got called, and he go, "I'm Rick the Alcoholic." And he had very gravelly voice.
Yeah.
And if it was -10 and snowing outside, he was wearing shorts. This guy never didn't wear shorts. You know something? I'll tell you something funny. I did see him not wear shorts once. It was a hot summer day.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell?
Well, that's how screwed up we get.
Yeah.
He was a character. He was a fun guy. Yeah. So you start going to hockey games with this guy, and you're saying this guy's sober, And it was so weird because the first time I went to a hockey game, the only thing I used to play hockey, and I really, like watching sports and stuff, but I didn't see the game the first time I went. All I saw was a beer in everybody's hand because I was always ripped when I went to any game, sneaking in some whiskey or something. And but it became and Rick only wore pants when he was coming straight from work, because he stacked vegetables, even though he didn't need to. He had a great job and he had a great pension. But it was just and then finally in the God thing too, that threw me off at first, So you're talking about steps 2 and 3.
Yes.
And people referring to a higher power.
Yes.
When you heard that, what was your initial reaction?
It was the same thing. I was always turned off to religion when I was a kid, and it was because of a few Jethro Tull songs. I didn't buy into it.
Jethro Tull does it again.
Yes,
man.
Yes. He said God's everywhere. You don't need to wind him up on Sundays. I forget the name of the song, but they sing it a lot. And But it was just the first step was crazy too. Powerless over a liquid. That took me. I was the slowest learner, and I did everything backwards and still made it just by not quitting. And that's what that's what I try. That's the only way you can not make it in AA is to stop going to meetings.
Right. If you stop coming back, you will not be successful. And I always say this: the people that keep coming back are the ones that are successful. And you come back no matter what. If you drink, you come back. If you don't get it, you come back. If you don't have a higher power, you come back anyway. And eventually, something someone says or a relationship you have or something you read starts to put a crack in that. Yep. And the light comes through a little bit.
Yeah, and they say, that's the saying, keep getting to AA until AA gets you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a friend of mine, Scotty, used to say, he got this through osmosis. And that's exactly what happened to me. And the God thing, I finally got it because they said a God of your understanding. And I remember someone saying once, you can borrow my God if you can't come up with your own, Mm-hmm. But my first God was a group of drunks.
Yeah.
Was the people in the room.
I see what you did there, GOD.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, group of drunks. Okay.
And it was just, it became my life. It became everything about my life. All my friends are in AA. Everything that I do is in AA. And all my time not working, it revolves around AA. Bonfires in my backyard with people in the program. I'm constantly immersed in the program.
So this new way of life fit with your personality, and you really embraced the fellowship even before you embraced the steps or anything else. The fellowship is what kept you coming back.
Absolutely.
And that's, it's different for everybody. I know there's a lot of people that like the big book, but they have a hard time with the fellowship. They don't like personalities or whatever. You're a very social guy, so that was probably what lit you up. There's something for everyone in AA. So if you keep coming back, you're going to find it. So at some point, you do go to court, right?
Yeah.
And what happens at court?
Oh, it's amazing. I had this customer, and he hooked me up with this lawyer, one of my customers, and he had been in business with the main district attorney in the town that I live in, and he just hammered this judge until this judge let me go. I didn't get any probation. I remember walking through the door because I hadn't really had my feet weren't very wet in AA when I went to court. And the last thing I told him right before he opened the doors was, I forgot to tell you I can't do probation, If they want to do probation, I says, you might as well send me to state prison, because I really didn't think I could not drink for a long period of time. And I had run into that same guy that I was drinking on my fourth DWI, and he's the one who said, he goes, Bobby, you can't do probation, so just do the time and get it over with. And that's how insane.
I was going to say that's how unmanageable life gets.
Were you thinking that's how you would get sober too?
No,
going away that
no,
long?
I just didn't want to go to prison. At that point, I didn't think being sober was possible for me. I had done it since 11. I was 50 years old now, and I didn't think I could not drink, and I couldn't see any reason why I would want not to drink. I was still a victim of circumstance in my mind.
So you're 50 years old, and you go to court, and you basically get a break.
Yeah, huge.
Now, for a lot of people, that would be, okay, I'm good. I can go out and drink more. What happened with you?
Well, that's exactly what I thought on my first three DWIs. But this time, the third and the fourth, they were talking about state prison. And I thought for sure I was going this time. And self-knowledge of the law system, I knew if I got a fifth DWI, I would never be able to drive again. And that means I'd never ride my motorcycle again. That means I couldn't operate a business. In my mind, I couldn't operate a business without driving. And more or less, you might as well take me, like I'm an old horse, could take me out and shoot me. If I can't drive and I can't ride my motorcycle, then what's the sense? So self-centered, because I have 4 children, I have 4 grandchildren now. I didn't at that point. But that's how important drinking and riding a motorcycle was to me. That shoot me if you're not going to let me do that, then just take me out.
Now, at some point, you're attending meetings and you're getting sober, and that kind of an attitude in your mind changes, right?
Unbelievable.
So speak to that. That's the
unbelievable.
Miracle, right?
That's my life today. That's my 4 grandchildren. It turns out it'll be 12 and a half years without being able to without some sort of condition on me driving, and thank God for that. If they didn't give me a really, really good, I don't even know if I would call it a punishment, because it's done nothing but turn my life around. And I have so much gratitude for what I have in my life, because I really have the life right by the balls right now.
Yeah. So beyond your wildest dreams.
Beyond my wildest dreams.
What do you attribute that to?
Just not drinking and hanging around people, places, and things. The first time I heard people, places, and things, that meant I can't go to to the biker bar. I can't hang out with my buddies. But after a couple of years, that meant hanging around people who have a great life, that have that are involved with their children, that are and that's what my life has become. The people. It's just amazing. I never had I don't really think I really had a friend anywhere in the same realm that I do now. You know, I have real friends now, real
Very
friends.
different.
That do things because they want to do them, not because they're expecting things. That's the way it was always in my, I'll do, I would only make friends with a motorcycle mechanic. I'll do carpenter work for you because you'll fix my bike,
But this just didn't come, right? It couldn't have just come to you. There was probably some work involved, right? Over this time period.
Oh my God, yeah. Doing, I wasn't interested in the book at all. The big book and doing the steps and that came from I love a big book study now. I mean I actually choose that over a meeting because I can be social after the meeting. I can be social inside and I can help. I can hear. But we don't have. I wish we had more big book studies because I won't pass one up. Like on Saturday we have a choice. You're gonna stay in this room or go in this room. I always go into the other room because that's where that's what helps me understand the insanity in my mind. Why did I look at why I was running into a wall over and over again.
A real transformative thing is when you talked about your relationships before where we really don't have any friendships. We have like transactional relationships, and so it's always quid pro quo and what are you going to do for me? What am I going to do for you? How's this going to work? And then you get into these genuine relationships where there's forgiveness, there's like genuine love, there's a sense of wanting to help and always getting help when you need it. And so this is kind of what we've always really craved, but didn't even know it was available.
And trust now.
Yeah, and trust, right? So tell us about your working of the steps.
Well, I've had many spots. Like I did this program so backwards, but that if that helps anybody out there, that that they can do it. But I really went through the steps the first time by myself with speaker tapes, and then I would go to book studies and the first time I had a sponsor, he didn't even know he was my sponsor, and. But now I actually have a sponsor, and we have a big book meeting every week, and we take it to a friend, who came in about the same time that I do, and he's very ill, he's more or less paralyzed now, he can move his eyes, that's about it, and we go there every week, and that just kind of shows you the friendships and the devotion in this program, and letting the guard down too. I had my biker costume, like force field,
Biker costume.
and then I had my
your armor
construction. I was never actually being myself except for in front of my kids because I was afraid. And someone said it the other day, and it really hit me on the head. I didn't like me, so I figured if you could see me, you wouldn't like me either.
Right.
So I had to be something else. And I love it. I have so many. I didn't even really have guy friends. I just didn't trust guys. I have so many guy friends right now, and I am myself in front of them. I'll pour my heart out in front of them, and I'm not worried about them. I'm just not concerned about what other people think anymore.
Yeah.
It's kind of
and that's,
you'll love me or you won't.
That's really the psychic change they talk about is somebody who knew you when you were drinking and hadn't seen you since and would see you now would say that's a different Bob. You know what I mean? You've been transformed, and so talk a little bit about your higher power and how your higher power plays in your life now.
Well, someone said my last sponsor, helped me a lot with praying, and now I pray in the morning, and I heard someone say, pray before you get your first cup of coffee, because otherwise I forget, and I love that it's, a higher power of my understanding. Because I am not religious, but I am very spiritual.
Right.
And it was a very judgmental God when I was growing up, I studied a lot of different religions, and I just never could get into it. There was always like a catch to it, that would stop me from going, aha, that's what it is. They just want my money, And my God is with me all the time. I can stop. The other day, sometimes I stop and I get on my knees in the parking lot at Home Depot, and I don't care what people think, but I need to start again that day, and get myself centered. And because if I don't, my mind will drive me crazy, and I will have a horrible day.
Right, that old thinking doesn't go away. And it takes work, right, to live a good life with that alcoholic thinking. I know mine pops up all the time. And I now at least I recognize it for what it is. I don't always want to stop it immediately. You know what I mean? Sometimes I follow it.
Oh, we love it sometimes.
Yeah, and
it's
so,
our comfort place.
but it's nice to know, like you say, with the practice of a relationship with a higher power, another alcoholic, meetings, reading the big book, all those things are available to us as tools to live a serene life where we don't desire to drink. And now you don't. How many years do you have in the program, or in sobriety?
It's, last October was 10 years.
Okay,
Man.
so that desire to drink does leave you.
Absolutely. I don't really think of a drink for the most part. And I can't say I don't romance a drink. I can't say if I'm not centered, I will think of a drink.
Sure.
And when I don't think I'm worthy, I will think of a drink. And almost every time I think of a drink, there's a F it before it,
But for clarification, that's a fuck it.
Yeah,
that's a fuck it, and that's and it's just that's what that's and it's really how I feel about myself and how if am I spiritually fit at that moment? If I'm spiritually fit, I am like armed up with God's armor.
And what I think a lot of it is when we aren't spiritually fit, it seems like it's just too hard. I don't want to do this anymore, And so you get a case of the fuck it's. When we are spiritually fit, we understand that it's not always easy, but we have a higher power to rely on, and there's things we can do to have self-care, and there's tools we're given that we're able to, manage that.
And work through.
Right, work through it. Exactly, yep. Good call. So
yes, finally one.
No, you get one per guest, Brad, and that was it.
It's hard to break through.
It's not going to happen again. So now, do you sponsor people too, Bob?
I try to. Actually, I've been in 10 years and I've never officially sponsored anybody. But whenever there's a newcomer, and I love that about the men in the program, there's very rarely I've been in a meeting and someone doesn't. I don't know how to explain it other than jump on the newcomer. We want to get to him before he leaves and try to make him feel comfortable, and try to make him realize that we care, because like when my first meeting, I couldn't understand why anyone would care about me, And the women do that with, it works best when the women stay with the women and the men stay with the women because of what we call
you mean men stay with the men?
Oh, yeah. Men stay with the
Freudian slip there.
Yeah.
Depends on the woman. But so now you told us, when you were out drinking, riding motorcycles was huge for you. It was, part of the center of your life. Have you met people in AA to do that with?
That is so awesome because, there's a lot of bikers in the club. Matter of fact, there was when I first walked into the men's group, there was a guy who I used to drink and ride with, and I was like, "What are you doing here?" And he says, "I've been here for 7 years," and when I used to see him out and stuff like that, and I used to offer to buy him a beer, and he would say, "No, I don't drink." I would laugh and walk away, but that's what I love about AA. I got a lot of people in AA to ride with. We got a sober motorcycle club, and we have parties, picnics, we hang out, bonfires and everything, but it just isn't bikers. If you're a fisherman or a bowler or whatever, there are drunks do everything, so you can find something to get your life back. And I just love that.
Yeah, I feel the same way about podcasting. So to put a bow on it, Bob, What advice do you have for somebody who comes in to AA and it's kind of like you were, where you're like, I don't really want to talk to anybody?
Yeah, it's hard, like when you get a new job and you change a new school, buy a new house, you got a new neighbor. It's going to be uncomfortable at first. So if you go into that realizing that you're going to be uncomfortable, you're kind of preparing yourself. And for me, it was just reaching out and making that first friend, that guy in the shorts, and going to the hockey game. And the more friends that you make in the rooms, the more comfortable you get, and the better the experience is. And before you know it, you'll have a life beyond your wildest dreams.
There you go. Well, Bob, thanks for talking to us on the Glum Lot Podcast and becoming part of the Glum Lot community. I'm Mark.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Bob.
As we wrap up another episode of the Glum Lot Podcast, we want to extend our heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you who tuned in today. Navigating the path to recovery from alcohol and other substances is a journey filled with challenges, triumphs, and self-discovery. Remember, we're not affiliated with Alcoholics Anonymous, but we're here to provide a safe space for open conversations about the complexities of recovery. Your stories, courage, and resilience inspire us and our listeners alike. If you or someone you know is on the transformative journey, know that you're not alone. Join us next time as we continue to explore the diverse facets of recovery. Until then, stay strong, stay connected, and remember that each day is a step towards a brighter, sober tomorrow. Thank you for being part of the Glum Lot community.